All right, so a concept that has been emergent in these last 2 days and that I'm now coming to a conclusion on and have a thesis for is the idea of thinking in a fight, right? So we all know that thinking in a fight puts you a step behind. Thinking is a slow operating action. But we want to fight intelligently. We want to fight smart. So how do we fight smart without thinking? Right? That's what we're trying to solve. So the answer is in the flow state, right? The flow state is the holy grail, right? The flow state is where you're just being and you can respond appropriately and intelligently without having to think about it, right? And when it comes to motor learning and programming, there are 3 stages, right? There's the cognitive stage, which is actively thinking. It's the what to do. You know what to do, but you have to think your way through it, or you're trying to figure out what to do. You have the associative stage. That's the how to do it. So that's the procedure. It's the practice of the thing. And then you have the autonomous stage. This is the flow state. This is where things just happen because you've ingrained it in your patterns and you've made it a habit, a thing you do, right? You've downloaded the operating system, you've updated your software, and it's just a way you behave. So thinking in a fight means you are in a cognitive processing mode, right? Everyone wants to get straight to the flow state, but to do that means you're skipping steps, because when you develop motor programming, when you develop physical skills, you have to go through these 3 stages. So to just go straight into sparring and try to figure things out means you're thinking, and you're probably not thinking in the right pathways or using the right shortcuts because you haven't practiced it. So a good example was last night. I was at a dinner and having a conversation with my cousin-in-law, and we were just trying to solve a simple mathematical equation. The question was, what is 16,000 divided by 50? I want you to try to solve this real quick. So I want you to figure out, I'm going to give you a bit of time. What is 16,000 divided by 50? Did you get it? So I'm going to walk you through how I thought about this. So I will tell you, I'm not the most efficient at mathematical equations. I haven't drilled it. I haven't trained it. I haven't learned the good shortcuts properly, right? Here's how I try to solve this. I have to visually see it, if not write it down. So in the air, I'm drawing and thinking. And in my mind, I hear, okay, 16,000 divided by 50. What are my shortcuts? They both have a 0 on the end, so I'm going to cut off a 0, and we get 1,600 divided by 5. Okay, well, what's 1,600 divided by 5? Well, let's take the zeros off and save it for later. We got 16 divided by 5, right? 16 divided by 5, 4 goes into 16 4 times, so it's at least 4. There's at least a 4 in there, right? So it goes in at least 4 times. And then there's some, right? So I haven't even solved the question. I don't even really know. I'm kind of lost in the woodwork, right? My mental processing is I'm taking very inefficient cognitive steps, and I'm not even really sure where I'm going. I'm kind of just going and trying to follow a thread wherever it leads. Here's how my cousin solved it. So he said, well, 16,000 divided by 50. He said 50 is half of 100. So 50 is half of 100. So what's 16,000 divided by 100? 160. And then he says, okay, well, what's 160 divided by half? And he got to 3,200 or whatever the answer is, right? So in a few short steps, because he had the proper shortcuts and understood and had practiced and drilled and trained, that's the important part. He has prior to this engagement, prior to this encounter, prior to this exchange, this fight, this problem to solve, he had previously already practiced solving mathematical equations efficiently using proper shortcuts, and he drilled it, he practiced it, he trained it. So in the moment of solving a problem at a moment's notice, he was able to do it in very little steps. There are people out there who can just solve that problem right away because they know how to solve it right away somehow. And there are people who have, at the very least, some good shortcuts to do it very quickly. In a fight, when you're presented with problems, you have to solve these problems. And thinking in a fight is the slowest form of solving a problem, right? You can get the answer, but if the other guy is faster at solving the problem than you, then he's going to solve the problem before you do. So thinking in a fight is the least efficient way to do it. We can all agree that you don't want to have to think in a fight, but you want to fight smart. You want to be thoughtful, so to speak, in your approach. You want to be intelligent. You want to respond appropriately to the problem at hand. So you need shortcuts, or you need to already know how to solve these problems quickly and efficiently. Meaning these things come from the way you drill, the way you practice. You need to drill and practice problem solving in a way that allows you to solve problems better when you encounter them in the future. If not instantly, more efficiently, and with less mental processing power. Because when you're thinking, you are falling behind. And in chess, you want to think a few steps ahead. You want to be a few steps ahead of your opponent. So, falling behind, obviously, is the opposite of thinking ahead. But how do we think without thinking? How do we tap into this flow state? Well, we already said that. We have to practice and drill it in training. You need to think in the gym so you can use shortcuts in a fight, right? The route you take to get there, the route you take to solve the problem, is created in the way that you practice and train. So the path, the method, the equations, the route you use to solve a problem is created in the way that you train and practice. So you need to practice and train so that you can autonomously, without thinking, efficient and good routes of problem solving. And I believe that has covered everything I wanted to talk about. I believe I've kind of uncovered the whole thesis. So again, the thesis is you need to think in the gym so that way you don't have to think in the fight, right? Sweat more in training so you bleed less in war, kind of a thing. Think more in training so you can think less in war, or at least have some shortcuts and be able to think more quickly, more efficiently, and find solutions better than your opponents. Peace.